Welcome, everybody, to College Football Weekly Pick'em Show. We are at Week 4. The College Football Weekly Pick'em Show is brought to you by MyBookie.ag. You know, ever since I started doing this podcast, people ask me for advice. Am I picking USC or California, NC State or Florida State? Well, let me tell you this. Where you're betting is just as important as who you're betting on. So that's why I always tell people to go to MyBookie.ag. MyBookie has been in this business for years, and their rep is rock solid. They do 100% cash bonuses. So right off the bat, you're making money for doing nothing at all. And they have the fastest payout. I mean, a lot of places it'll take you 3, 4, 5 days, even a week. With MyBookie.ag, it's 2 business days. So make sure you get your 100% bonus. So when you go to MyBookie.ag, make sure you put in CFB picks. That way they know you got it from the grueling truth, and you'll get your bonus. So you know who's going to win, right? Lay down some cash and win big today. All right, guys, I'm your host for the College Football Pick'em Show, Mike Goodpaster. Right now I want to welcome in my co-host. First up, we've got Brian Schmidt.
What's up, everybody?
And Brian this week was tied for first with an astounding record of 5-5. It was tied with yours truly. I was 5-5 also. So the biggest loser, since Oz Davis still isn't with us on this show, is Bill Searcy, former Alabama Crimson Tide, won a couple national championships under Bear Bryant. Bill, you were 4-6. Need a little redemption this week.
I was 4-6 because I stuck with Alabama and they didn't beat the spread.
So, well, that's why me and Brian were 5-5.
Exactly.
So let's go ahead. Let's get everybody's big take from the week. First off, we'll start with Bill. What was your big takeaway from Week 3 of the college football season?
I was 2 of them, Clemson and Mississippi State. I thought Clemson would win, but I did think they would win in the fashion in which they did, especially playing in Louisville. And I thought I was surprised Louisville didn't score more points than they did. But I was really impressed with Clemson. I don't know who's going to beat them as we sit today. And then Mississippi State and the SEC just blew LSU away. I don't know if it's that Mississippi State's that good or if LSU's that bad or a little of both. But Mississippi State looks really good right now, and interested to see what they got coming this week with the Georgia Bulldogs. So 2 teams that I did not expect to win as big as they won.
All right, Brian.
Yeah, Clemson was the big one for me. But I out of the Pac-10, I was real impressed with Washington State. Leach is starting to, much like when he was at Texas Tech, almost the same thing. About 3 or 4 years, they go to a bowl game, that dangerous team, and then all of a sudden they start having that look of a team that certainly can contend for a Pac-10 championship, and they're starting to get that look. My other takeaway, really, honestly, just from an Ohio State standpoint, is Ohio State's in a lot of trouble. 35-7 win over Army, but did not look good doing it, and that's a team that's really in trouble in terms of the Big Ten right now. They've definitely got to look at making some changes.
All right. My big takeaway was a guy we talked about last week or a couple weeks ago. Texas got hammered by Maryland a couple weeks ago, and everybody's freaking out in Texas. They come back yesterday. In all intents and purposes, they should have got the win at USC. They were 2-touchdown underdogs. And, I think Tom Herman's a hell of a coach, and I don't think, the old proverbial Rome wasn't built in a day. But I think this, if Texas fans relax, a year from now, this is probably a top 10 team. You give him another year to recruit, and I think they're going to win 8 games this year at least and be a significant difference towards the end of the season in the Big 12 race. I don't think they're anywhere near Oklahoma or Oklahoma State, but I think Texas is a team on the rise because of Tom Herman. Let's go ahead. Will start picking the games for this coming week. We've got the North Carolina State Wolfpack, an 11.5-point underdog at Florida State. Florida State, of course, lost DeAndre Francois, their starting quarterback, first game of the season. Haven't got to play them because of Hurricane Irma. We'll start off with Brian. Brian, what do you think in this one? You like Florida State, or is 11.5 points too many to give?
I think it's too many. I think North Carolina will make it a close game. Florida State may win the game, But I think North Carolina will make it a lot closer game than 11.5.
All right, Bill.
I'm going to take Florida State. I think their defense will keep NC State out of the end zone. I think Florida State they've had a lot of time to put something together, so I'm going to pick Florida State.
Yeah, I think I'm going to lean with Bill here because I really like Jimbo Fisher. And let's face it, it's Florida State. They lost their starting quarterback, but it's Florida State. They've probably got two other blue-chip guys that are capable of playing. I think Fisher's a really good football coach. They've had a couple weeks to prepare for North Carolina State. I'm going to go with State, and I'm going to give the points. I'm not real comfortable with it, though, because I think North Carolina State is a good football team. But I think I'm going to side with Bill here. Next game, we get the USC Trojans, who will be traveling on the road at California. The Golden Bears are 16-point underdogs. USC, squeaks by 27-24 last night. In overtime, I think it was double overtime against the Texas Longhorns. Brian, you like USC? Give the points, or you want the points and take Cal?
I like USC, the points. I think they will play better against Cal. I think, Cal, to me, does not look, certainly like the Cal team that we've seen, at times where they've been decent. I think USC is going to come back in a big way from the Texas game and blow Cal out.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on this one. I'm going to go with USC, and I'm going to give the 16 points. Bill?
I'm with you. I'm taking USC also. I feel like they're going to come off with a big win this week after that Texas game.
All right, the next game, a game near and dear to Bill Searcy's heart, the Alabama Crimson Tide will visit Vanderbilt, where the Commodores looked good this past weekend, got a huge win. They're still 18.5-point underdogs against Vandy. I guess I'm starting this one out. I'm going to go with the upset, at least point spread-wise. I'm going to take Vandy in the points. And I think they've actually got a shot to win this game, Bill.
I don't disagree with you. I have to take Alabama. You know that. But
you don't have to. It's the points.
Well, yeah, I know. But anyway, I'm taking Alabama.
All right, Brian. Go ahead, Bill.
No, Vandy's got a good football team. And, I won't be completely shocked. And, I don't think Alabama looked very good yesterday. But with all that being said, I'm going to take my Tide.
All right, Brian.
I'm going to agree with you, and I'm going to take Vanderbilt in points. I do think Alabama will win, but this is Alabama team, or I really thought last week against Colorado State they were really going to kind of get that step up, and they didn't do it. This may be an Alabama team that will win games, but they're not going to blow a lot of people out. Not, when I say blowout, there's a big difference between 41-17 and 56-0 kind of deal. And I think Vanderbilt's a decent team, and I think it'll be a good game. I think Alabama will win, but I think Vandy will cover.
Yeah, I just think the 18.5 points is too much in a game where neither offense has really shown they can do a whole lot. I mean, I know that Bama, the game they played against Florida State, who's a very good defensive team, didn't really play that well offensively. I think this Vanderbilt defense, while maybe not in Florida State range, is a very good defense. That's almost 3 touchdowns. I just think it's too much to give there. Next game, we got TCU, undefeated, at Oklahoma State, who's undefeated. And Oklahoma State, with Mason Rudolph, Brian, are just running through the competition. The point spread is Oklahoma State favored by 11.5. Gary Patterson's a great coach at TCU. Do you think the Horned Frogs have a shot here?
Yeah, I do. I think Oklahoma will win, but I think TCU will cover at 11.5 right now. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. This is going to be a fun game to watch. This is certainly one that I'm going to put on the list of games that I'll watch next weekend. I think it's going to be a fun game. I always do enjoy watching Oklahoma State, and I enjoy watching TCU, what they do offensively, and so I'm kind of looking forward to this game.
All right, Bill, are you like Schmidt? You want to go with TCU and the 11.5 points, or are you going to go with Oklahoma State?
I'm going to go with Rudolph in the Oklahoma State. I believe they're going to those guys could run up some points. and they throw the ball all over the field. So I'm going with Oak State.
Yeah, it looks like this week, Brian, you're either going to pull way ahead or you're going to fall back behind us. Because I'm going to go with Oklahoma State and Mason Rudolph. TCU, to me, I mean, they couldn't stop SMU. And they can score a lot of points, but Oklahoma State with Mason Rudolph, I think Rudolph is a guy that's very underrated. I mean, they put 59 up on Pitt. I know Pitt's not a great team, but it's still a Power 5 conference team and a really good conference. I like Oklahoma State to win this game, something like 49-28. So I think they'll cover the spread. Next game, your friend, Bill Dabo Swinney.
Yeah.
Host the Boston College Eagles. The Eagles are 32.5-point underdogs. They lost by 29 to Notre Dame. You giving the points here? Or
I'm giving
what
the
are your
points.
thoughts?
I'm taking Clemson.
You're going to take Clemson by 32.5?
I am. Yep, and they're
That's a
going to
lot of points, Bill.
They're going to cover. Listen to me. Going to cover. They
all right. Well, I agree with you, Bill, so I'm just giving you a hard time. Brian?
Yeah, I agree with both of you. I think Clemson will cover this, and it'll be over by halftime.
Yeah, I mean, BC played Notre Dame tough for a while, but let's face it, Notre Dame is not the Notre Dame of Ara Parseghian, Dan Devine, Newt Rodney anymore. I mean, they're a second-tier program with Brian Kelly, and they always will be as long as Brian Kelly's there. And, yes, once again, I still don't like Brian Kelly. All right, guys, real quick, we're going to go take a break so you can check out mybookie.ag. Make sure you put in CFB picks for the promo code so you can get 100% added on to what you put in.
We'll get back to the podcast in just about a minute here, but first, football season is here, and if you're one of those fans of the NFL, the CFL, or college football who likes to make things interesting on game day, be sure to check out the offerings at mybookie.ag, a sponsor of the Grueling Truth Network. MyBookie reminds you that where you're betting is just as important as what you're betting on. MyBookie.ag offers the full range of point spreads, lines, odds, futures, proposition bets, and parlays on NFL, CFL, and FBS games that you'd find at any proper sportsbook online or off. They've also got the very trendy and exciting in-game live betting options as well. MyBookie offers all first-time players a 100% deposit bonus, thereby doubling your initial bankroll. And MyBookie accepts players from worldwide, including the US and Canada. MyBookie.ag offers 24-hour multilingual customer service and chat, plus a handy app for your mobile device. Best of all about MyBookie.ag, though, is the payout time. MyBookie promises payouts to your account within 2 business days of request. So the next time you're wagering on football, or baseball, or basketball, or soccer, or any major sport, really, check out MyBookie.ag, sponsor of the Grueling Truth. Use promo code CFBPICKS or NFLPICKS to get a 100% match bonus on your first deposit. That's promo code CFBPICKS or NFLPICKS. Thank you, and please always play responsibly.
All right, guys, we're back here on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. We're at the College Football Weekly Pick'em Show, Week 4, with myself, Mike Goodpaster, my co-host, which would be Bill Searcy, former Alabama Crimson Tide, and Brian Schmidt, formerly out of Columbus, Ohio. Or is that Marion? I don't remember.
Columbus, Ohio, living in Texas, living the dream, coaching professional indoor football, and picking games here on the Grueling Truth.
There you go. There's nothing like picking games with us and coaching professional indoor football.
I'll tell you, I look forward to these days when I get to be on here and pick games, and my NFL record is picking games the last 2 weeks is doing well, so.
So we might just have Brian start his own pick section. You got to pay to see his picks, at least for not after this week on the college football, of course, because you were 5-5, but
yeah,
which was an outstanding record, which only the very smartest people had, because I was also. Let's go ahead. And we'll start off the next game. We got the Michigan Wolverines at the Purdue Boilermakers. Purdue's getting 8 points. I'll start this one off, and I'll say this. This is my upset of the week. I think Purdue wins this game. What do you think, Brian?
I've gone back and forth on this one as well. This Michigan did not impress me against Air Force.
But no team ever impresses playing one of the academies with that triple option.
No, never do. But Purdue has looked better. I'm going to agree with you. I think this is going to be an upset. I think Purdue will cover this.
All right, Bill?
I'm going with you guys. I'm going with Purdue.
All right, the next game, the Florida Gators, I know a team that Bill loves, against the University of Kentucky Wildcats. The Wildcats are 4-point favorites hosting this game at home. Brian, what do you think?
I'm gonna take Kentucky. Decent team. And Florida just they don't jump out at me. So I'm gonna go with Kentucky in this one.
So you know my theory of why Florida doesn't jump out at you, Schmidt?
Why is that?
My theory is they're not very damn good.
Yeah. Fuck.
I mean, their offense is still bad, and their defense is not as good as it once was. They beat Tennessee, but this is not the old Danny Werfel, Peyton Manning rivalry you had back in the day. I don't even know if they played at the same time, but I think it was close. I think Werfel was, I don't know, either before or after him, but you get my point. I just don't think Florida's very good. I am going to go with Kentucky also, and I think there's a chance Kentucky could win 9 games this year. Bill?
I'm going with Kentucky because I think nobody gives them credit for the team they're becoming. I think they're underrated. I think Florida is not a good team. The way they won the game yesterday is how they have to win nowadays. Their defense is not what it used to be, and I don't know what's going on down in Florida. It looks like there's a lot of turmoil, but I'm taking Kentucky.
Well, and I mean, most programs, being an Alabama fan, when you lose an iconic coach like an Urban Meyer, it's hard to come back from that.
Yeah. The guy they got now, McElwain, was an offensive coordinator at Alabama, did a good job at Colorado State, and then first couple of years at Florida he did okay, but this year it's just crazy. They got all these guys suspended and all kind of problems off the field, and I don't know. I think they got some serious discipline problems, but yesterday they won with a Hail Mary, and I don't know. I just think Kentucky's got a good team, and we don't give them enough credit for what they're doing. So we'll find out, but that's why I'm taking Kentucky.
All right, we got an important game in the Big Ten. We get the Penn State Nittany Lions, undefeated with McSorley and Barkley, at the Iowa Hawkeyes. The Hawkeyes are getting 13.5 points here, Bill.
I got to take Penn State. I like Penn State once again. I think they've got a great team. We don't hear about them a lot down here, but for what I know about them, I think they've got a good chance to beat Iowa. So I'm taking Penn State. Excuse me.
Yeah, I'm going with Penn State also. I mean, Iowa's look good. I think Penn State's just got too much firepower, and right now, the game I would want to see, I think the 2 best teams in the country may be Clemson and Penn State.
Yeah.
I mean, Oklahoma's up there too. USC, I guess. I'm still not sold on them, but I do think they have the best quarterback in college football. But, Brian, Iowa and 13.5 points at home. Taking it early.
Going to go with Penn State. I agree. I think Penn State is definitely a top 3 team in the country right now, and they're a dangerous team. That not only offensively, defensively, that's not necessarily the Penn State defensive whole, but at the same time, they create opportunities for their offense, and they put pressure on teams because their offense is so good. They put pressure on teams with the idea that, well, we've got to score, and that's where they create turnovers and create more opportunities. So I think Penn State's a real good team, and I think
they're almost opposite of the Joe Paterno days.
Oh, it's night and day. I mean, it really is. So, I think they're going to win this game. They're going to win it, I think, pretty handily.
All right, now maybe the biggest game of the week, and I never thought I would say this in Week 4. The Mississippi State Bulldogs are favored by 3.5 points at the Georgia Bulldogs. Both teams are undefeated. Mississippi State's coming off a huge blowout win over LSU. Georgia beat Notre Dame a couple weeks ago, which Brian Kelly's there, so don't mean much. I guess I'll start this one out. I'm going to go with Mississippi State. I'm going to bet that they're legit, but either way, I think this is a close game, so I'm going to take the 3.5 points. Brian?
I'm going to say it's going to be a close game, but I'm going to give Georgia the nod to win this game. I think it's going to be a great game. It can go either way. I think the difference is going to be Georgia at home, so for that, I'm going to give them a nod in this. I think that their running game and things that they do offensively, I think, will be enough. But I think this is going to be a great game as well. This is going to be another one that's going to be interesting to watch.
All right, Bill?
Great game, but I'm taking Mississippi State. I talked about them in the beginning. I think their offense is for real. I think their quarterback they're going to be a high-scoring offense, and I think they're going to score a lot of points against Georgia. Georgia beat Notre Dame really doesn't tell me a whole lot of anything. I don't think Georgia was real impressive yesterday, but I'm taking Mississippi State to win this one by quite a few.
All right, the last game of the week, the Washington Huskies, who look like they may even be stronger than last year, even though they lost a lot of guys that are in the NFL right now, will go to Colorado to take on the Buffaloes. The Buffaloes are getting 9.5 points, Brian.
Go with Washington. I think Washington is real strong. I think they're going to go into Colorado and they're going to win this game pretty handily.
All right, Bill.
Same here. I'm taking Washington. They lost a lot of people, but they got a great team this year. And like you said, probably better than last year. So I got to go with Washington.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and wrap the show up. But for our final thoughts, what I want is this. Right now, if you guys had to give me your college football Final Four, Brian, who would those 4 teams be?
Oh, well, I haven't even thought about that. Right now, I'm gonna go with Clemson being one, Penn State. That's a good question.
Yeah, we're not going to hold it to you because all this changes week to week anyways. But
yeah, I'm going to say Clemson, Penn State. I like Washington. I think Washington is going to be an interesting team right now. 4th team. Right now I'll say Oklahoma, but that'll probably change.
All right. So you had Clemson, Penn State, Oklahoma, and who?
Clemson, Penn State, Oklahoma, and Washington.
In Washington. All right, Bill?
He stole the words right out of my mouth. Clemson, Penn State, Oklahoma, and Washington.
Clemson, Penn State. Now, the thing that's missing from that, Bill, is an SEC team.
I know. I know that.
So you think the SEC gets left out this year?
As we sit today, yeah.
All right, I'm going to change one. I'm going to go Clemson, Penn State, Oklahoma State. And I'm still going to go with USC and Sam Darnold. Just because it gets boring if we all just say, I agree with him. But really, I think Oklahoma State's better than what people think.
I will say this. Oklahoma State was in my thought process, so I would have to say right now for me they're like number five, but, I mean, they're a good team, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how things go as the season goes on. But I think they're a dangerous team. But
and if I had to throw a couple wild cards in there, I think Wisconsin, because I think they're going to end up playing Penn State for the Big Ten championship, and I think Mississippi State's in there maybe. I mean, it's just one game, so I'm not going to crown their ass yet, as Dennis Green would say. But they looked really good, and their quarterback is legit. And I just think the SEC is down. If they're down, I just can't imagine. If Mississippi State was to run through this 11-0, 12-0, whatever it is, be 12-0, I mean, they're going to put an SEC school in there.
As we get into the bulk of the SEC schedule, we'll be able to tell a whole lot more. But,
yeah, I think Georgia will tell us a lot. If they come out and blow the doors off Georgia, then I would lean more towards it. If they have trouble with Georgia, then I'm just going to lean towards they were just a dark horse. I changed my mind. But all right, right, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Make sure you catch us next Sunday on the College Football Pick'em Show. Myself, Brian, Bill. Hopefully Oz will be back next week. I think he's a little intimidated by our picking skills because last week we did go 5-5. I want to remind everybody you can download our app on iTunes. Just look for The Grueling Truth. You can follow us on Twitter at Grueling Truth. You can catch all of our shows on iHeart, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher. Wherever you find sports podcasts, you'll find The Grueling Truth. So for Brian Schmidt, Bill Searcy, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.